Okay. So people are
This is brain vomit with me, Sophia.
gin tonic with lime water.
Cheers.
Can't go wrong. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
In spirit of Pride Month, I want to have a discourse about coming out. And I have here my guest. Introduce yourself.
I'm Zeha, I'm 21, I'm a non-binary educator, I'm a queer educator actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am Sophia, a non-binary artist / roller skater / law student.
Liar na yan. Remix!
And yeah, I haven't actually updated my podcast or like a lot of people that I am taking law right now. But yeah, that's the update. So what are the 3 things or top 3 things that you are grateful for recently?
I'm grateful for this space. Yeah. I recently moved out, maybe a few months back. Yeah, I'm grateful for this space. I'm grateful for the work I'm doing with kids right now. Recently, I mean it's small matter, but my kids have been into cookery, so we've been doing a lot of cooking with them, and it's just exciting because it's like a new skill for them and also a new skill for me to actually teach them how to cook. And the third thing that I'm grateful for, what am I grateful for? Bitch, let me think. I'm grateful for Buzz. So Buzz is my therapy, and then like we cut like in swimming.
Okay.
Buzz is like a grouchy therapy I have. He's about 2 years old, I think. Yeah, he's my new roommate.
I'm also grateful for your space because it is so cozy and we can be really free. Yeah, and I can come here to hang and do whatever I want. Actually, second thing I'm grateful for is honestly roller skating again, and the communities and friends that I've made through that. And I'm grateful for you. Yeah. For always having like honest conversations and and stupid ones, like nonsensical,
Yep. A lot of
world
it.
building conversation,
Fan fiction.
fiction type things in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I want to talk about coming out and how I've actually not come out. Basically, I think that like you owe no one an explanation of your of your gender identity or sexuality or however you like to express yourself, if you're queer or not. Yeah, and from that I haven't come out to people, and I only bring it up in conversations if I feel safe or if it's necessary, and or if I choose to do the laborious task of educating people. And the fact that all of us who are not PhD people or masters or people who are taking masters in like gender studies don't need to explain or educate people about yourself or whoever you are. Yeah.
So for me, I feel like I'm at a place in my past. I mean, when I was a bit younger, maybe now I'm 21, right? So really, when I'm talking about younger, I'm talking about teenage me, and even like pre-teen me. I guess there was well, rather than the pressure to come out, there was like this urge to want to be validated or affirmed, of course, for your identity. And I mean, now that I'm a bit older, I feel like I don't need to come out because regardless, I'm owning my truth. And there is nothing that I'm coming out of.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it has always been me. And I mean, if you know me long enough, you know me, then there's no need to come out. Things aside from identity always unravels itself when you get to know each other. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's a need to come out, especially when it comes to like the discussion of safety
Yeah.
and stuff. So for me, I work in a preschool, and in Singapore it's hard to get hired if you're a queer person, or if you explicitly state that you're queer. So most of us just don't. But for me, I feel like even though I own my truth, or I own my truth, I do owe my children the truth,
Yeah.
which is two separate things, I think, because my children need to know that the people that are around them, like me, people like me exist, and not only they exist, they're in proximity with you, they love you, they take care of you, and it shouldn't change any perception you have of them. So my kids right now, they're not at that phase yet, but for when I was I was interning and everything. When I was back a student, I was student back then. Sorry, I'm a bit drunk. I was I was attached to an N2 class. So they're about 3 to 4 years old, and they're in the phase where they're asking you, are you a boy or girl, and how you dress or how you appear will incite this kind of responses, because they're like, because I chop off my hair, because they saw me with long hair, and then I chop off my hair, and then I came to school and it's really really short, and they were like, Miss, are you a girl or a boy? Which I find very interesting, because like they ask this every single time, so it's not even if you give them an answer, it's not a fixated answer. And that was to me the essence of being gender fluid.
Yeah.
And the children unknowingly kind of affirmed that for me. So of course when I first started, I was like, oh, I'm a girl, but there's no there's no way of telling whether someone's a girl or not. But as I grew with them, and I became more comfortable with them, and I realized that this is an everyday question that they ask. I was just like, one day I was just like switch up, and I say, I'm not a boy, I'm not a girl, I'm teacher Zeha. And that kind of made me feel like, and obviously I don't know what they're thinking, but the children were like, so the first question they asked me was, so which toilet you go to?
Yeah.
It's just a smart question to ask, and I mean in our center we only have one toilet for adults. So I'll just say, I'll go to the adult toilet.
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh. And then it became a casual thing of them just asking me whether I'm a boy or girl. And then usually the same answer, which is, I'm teacher Zeha, does it really matter? And then there'll be like certain conversations or gender identifiers that are being raised up by them. They were like, oh, but you have short hair.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but Jessie also has short hair, and she's a girl, right? And then it brings about, with children, I learned to water down or simplify gender, and in that I realized that things are not as complex as they are, because the children are just like, oh, okay, and then we move on. So for me, I guess the only people I come out to is my kids, but not really coming out. I'm just sharing my life with them, and as much as they share their life with me. So I feel like me, aside from like gender and stuff, I share things like I skate, I tell them I skate, or I paint, I tell them like, oh, I have friends that do art and stuff. So for them, me being queer is just another information that makes up their image of who I am as an educator. And it's just like, oh, it's in the same level of importance of how much I like Peppa Pig. Honestly, because I'm like, as long as you like Peppa Pig, you're like an our ally. So okay, so we're good. So yeah, being around kids made me realize a lot about how I don't really have to come out, but conversations that highlight who I am or any other queer people is an important conversation for them, because they may not be queer, but they are aware now that the people around them are queer, and you may not even know, and that's okay. And I mean, no straight people have to come out, right?
Yeah.
So
And I totally agree that, like, I think I'm in a place where I'm comfortable with myself enough and my identity as of now. I mean, in the future, it can totally change, or progress, but I let people know me for who I am without needing to explain my sexuality, unless it comes to a point of them bringing up the conversation, and especially if they are cis and straight and like completely do not understand queer identities, then sometimes when I choose to, then I will bring it up and I will also explain myself. Although I only do it usually like one-on-one when I feel most safe, even if they are racist or homophobic. And the only reason why I'm in spaces with people like that is of course because of like institutions or work or places where we don't choose who to be around us, right? So yeah, and I prefer not to explain myself, and I think why especially straight men are afraid of gay men is that they also receive the male gaze from the gay men, and that I explained to one of my acquaintance that that's the male gaze we always receive as femme presenting people or as women, from men, you know, the objectification and the discomfort we feel from that attraction or that objectification from those people. And I think that's what the straight men, cis straight men, like dislike feeling that they could be objectified from another man, and possibly be stronger and strong enough to fight them physically, right? And I think that is why. Yeah, I wasn't talking about this because I just recall educating straight men mainly.
I have always I guess I used to educate or like educate adults but it's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Cause the thing is, I mean, obviously there's a percentage that genuinely wants to know. But if you want to know, you should do your own research. Because in my head, I'm like, listen, I had to do research on my identity, to understand my identity, and then to kind of accept my identity, and to own it. That's fucking laborious for me. So you only literally had to do kind of like one step.
Yeah.
Of like the 4 steps I had to do. So that's one thing why I kind of just like don't even acknowledge or like entertain the idea of trying to educate people anymore. In fact, nowadays I present things matter of fact, and then just no explanation at all. And I think also because a large part of my everyday is educating. So by the time I get home, I just want chaos. I want chaos. I just want nothing to explain to people, and I feel like I don't know. I think when it comes to my discussions with like grown-ups, and I'm talking about, you know, people around our age and above, and you know, basically not kids. There's always this lingering feeling in my mind where it's like, are you trying to understand me or are you trying to win a debate? Because some of the way that the question kind of like pushes me to kind of validify myself, but the thing is, my identity is not to be debated for. It's a statement. It's a fact. It's the truth, and it's not an opinion debatable topic. You know, it is. There's a point blank to it, and read the room. So for me, it's always a question of I know I kind of had these parameters of like, okay, I know when you're trying to hold a discussion with me to win, and in that fact you come into this discussion wanting to prove that I'm wrong, and so it's not a discussion anymore. It's just a useless fight, so I don't really engage. And I think that's part of my self-preservation and I don't know, I think like going back to the topic of coming out, then me not coming out is self-preservation. And I know like a lot of it's empowering for a lot of queer people to come out and tell the people around them the truth about them, and good on you, I guess. But for me, every time I think about coming out, I feel like there's a lot more that I'm losing than I'm holding, and I already know what the outcome will be. So, or rather, I'm not willing to take a chance to see whether this outcome is not even going to be the outcome I predicted. So I just don't consider it because come on, I'm from a many Muslim households, yeah. In fact, if you think about it, I'm more scared of coming out as ex-Muslim than I am of being queer. Honestly, if I'm driven into a corner where I have to decide whether I should confess for being queer or ex-Muslim, I sound good. I'm praising the Lord. I'm praising our Lord. But like, for me, that comes into like the complexity or the intersectionality of how controversial my identity is. And so for me, I always lump it together into like things that I would never tell my family or the people I love, because I feel like with my family, I mean it's not even an option to tell them anything. I'm good with what we have, and if I feel like my identity is going to fray that, it's going to ruin our relationship. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, no, but you kind of have to filter this kind of people out, like it's a very extreme polar ends of like whether they accept you or you reject them, kind of thing. And for me, I can't do that because I love my family despite or in spite of whatever beliefs they stand for. Unfortunately, it's very hard because for me, I have a very complex relationship with my family because I grew up with external family taking care of me because my mom and dad passed on when I was very, very young. So for me, I feel like them taking care of me, and they don't have to. I mean, a lot of people are like, like parents, they have to take care of you. You kind of have to but then you don't owe them anything, right? But for me, with family that actually don't really have to take care of me, I do feel like there's an exchange of like they have compassion for me to a certain degree, and thus I'm extending my compassion to them. And if it gets to the point, I guess for me right now, not coming out is self-preservation, and not coming out doesn't really lessen the affirmation I have to myself about how queer I am. I'm okay with it, because I'm at peace with that. Because back then, maybe when I was 18 or so, when I was so eager to kind of like reinforce my identity to everyone around me and get everyone to call me by my pronouns and stuff, which is very important things, of course. It's like respect, indicator of respect and stuff. I realized that a lot of this determination to get people around me to affirm me is a lot to do with anger, and me wanting to be angry because I want respect. But for me, I guess when I got into work, I think that's a different playing field because these are people I don't really kind of need in my life, but I kind of have to bear with. And so it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, I can't out myself at work because it's at the expense of money, and I need money to survive and to be queer. But I also cannot I cannot out myself, but I cannot also be angry at them all the time. That's not going to be sustainable for me. So I guess maybe from last year onwards, I tried to realign my relationship with my queerness and the relationship of my queerness to like external validation or affirmation. And I derived to a point that a lot of people are like, oh, you must assert yourself because you love yourself and you protect yourself. And so you tell them the pronouns you want to be called by and insist on it. But for me, I can't do that at work because that it will just bring up a lot of mess that I don't want to deal with and I can't afford to deal with. So I come to a point where I'm like, because I love myself and because I am affirming myself, I have to protect myself. And to protect myself, I have to kind of be in the closet. So I'm good with that. The closet is pretty comfy, I'm telling you. Like it's good. I'm not in a place where I guess it helps me a lot with my dysphoria as well lah. Because before that I relied a lot on like people calling me by the right pronouns and not misgendering me to kind of fit, or rather not fit, but like to dispel away the gender dysphoria. But nowadays I really get dysphoria because I kind of come to a consensus with myself that the things or who I am is not affected by the people around me. And it's still a work in progress, and that's mainly how I kind of like navigate through my queerness. So yeah, like if you know, you know. You don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me because I know. Yeah. And that's all that matters. I'm pretty narcissistic nowadays. That's good. No, really. The narcissism is like, feeding me. We should do this again. Not on coming out, but maybe when we are more sober, we do something else related to pride.
No, I like this.
Aww.
It's good. And I think the conversations you brought up of like self-preservation and family and how thankfully we at a place where we feel validated enough within ourselves to not need external validation or to explain ourselves to other people. Because I guess when we were younger and I think even as recently as like last 2 years, there's a lot of anger within the community to like enforce our identities onto other people and have them understand us. But if you don't understand and you don't accept and that just means that they're not even ready to be in your life. So don't explain yourself, you know. Unless they are curious and want to know more about you, then let them ask. And if you do want to educate, then you educate. If not, then don't, you know? Like, it's just a simple Google. And I have met a few people also from this year actually, where I just like, they ask me what's my sexuality, and then I tell them, and then they're like, oh, I just did a Google search about it, like you're so cool. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Like, thank you for
doing the work
as a cis straight person, male or female. Sorry. Woman or man, non-binary. You think queer people already understand. So, in relation to my family, my brother and sister knows, and if my parents are around, like, it don't mean that I won't have conversations about queerness or sexuality. I'm not holding it back, but if my parents ask, then I'll tell them. But I don't need to. I don't feel like I want to explain at any point of time to like actually come out. Because I don't need to come out. I am who I am, and I will be who I be, and it's my truth. And I think, and to just reinforce this to all my queers out there, however you identify, you don't need to explain yourself to people, and don't explain your expression, your gender expression, your queerness to other people, because you are validated in yourself, and that having others invalidate you sucks, but you don't need to take their opinion to your account. Yeah.
I think, but also at the same time, I kind of want to hold space for people who find affirmation in coming out. I think that's really brave, especially if you know that coming out will result in like something that you're losing rather than gaining. I think that I also want to honor like getting your affirmation from coming out also,
Yeah.
because we talked a lot about self internalizing that validation without coming out, but
Yeah.
I also can recognize and understand why coming out is affirming to yourself, because I guess coming out has a purpose of not only getting people to accept you or understand you or know who you are, but it's also for you to actually voice out at the same time, or like say it out loud in front of the people that matters to you, because it's real. When we say it out loud makes it more real for you. And I just want to honor that too, because coming out can be important,
We
but it
see
should
you.
not be the indicator of whether you're queer enough or not.
Yes.
That's it.
If you're here to find out whatever our sexuality is, you won't. If you're attracted, just say and just ask lah. Then we'll tell you.
No need. I don't want. Do not perceive me. I am really an IMBU character. I'm not real. I'm just a delusion. I'm a fantasy, and I'm better to be known as a concept. So don't hit me up.
Okay, bye. Thanks for listening.
Bye.